Hey, what's up, YouTube? You're gonna smash the like button and subscribe. Hit the little bell for the notification.
I was looking at our statistics. I noticed that 99% of you aren't subscribed.
We don't really need an intro or anything. I'm sure you can find something. You want to read it?
Oh. Yeah, just shh, let me talk. Are the combat pets all DPS oriented, or are there tank, DPS, healing, and support variants? Can I be a healer that has a combat pet that aids me in my healing or provides mana regen?
So yeah, I can answer that one as I literally just said. Yeah, they do have the different tank DPS healing pets for like a summoner. They didn't mention summoner specifically. So I don't know, like, I don't know if a ranger will have pets. I'm gonna have to say no, unless you go like ranger summoner, then you could probably summon some kind of hunting pet to help you with that, or maybe even summoner ranger. That would make sense. Maybe just summon better combat pets, but they will have the choice of DPS, tank, healing, slash support. Um, I don't know if you can be a healer primarily and still have that. I don't see why not. You could probably be a cleric, that and then you choose summoner as your secondary archetype, and then you can choose a healing or a tank, a minion. I don't see why not. You should be able to.
Yeah, like I could see if you choose the cleric or bard primary, and then you take summoner as the secondary.
Yeah.
Some of your spells and abilities will be flavored as like a pet doing things for you, I guess. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe like it'd be cool if there's a pet that was just casting like one of your typical spells, so you can concentrate on doing other things.
Oh, it might be fun if you could set that pet to follow a designated player around, like a tank or a teammate, where it just follows it around, helping support and heal, or maybe even do stuns of some kind. I think that would actually be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
But yeah, you can definitely do that. I don't know about the mana regen part.
Yeah, like that kind of.
That's too in depth.
Thinking of World of Warcraft, where the priest can summon those shadow creatures, give you some mana regen.
Yeah, like maybe, I don't know. As far as that's too like in depth specific, but as far as like tank DPS healing, yeah, definitely, you can definitely choose.
Speaking of mana, real quick, is character class like resource, like, is there mana in the game, or is it going to be like, okay,
I'm pretty sure there is. I remember watching the videos, and then people were definitely complaining that Steven was out of mana constantly. So yeah, I look forward to being all the time.
Great.
The next question, let's see. To our knowledge, Intrepid exceeded the estimated cost of production of $30 million a while ago. Steven himself has largely been funding this game up to today. Is this a sustainable situation for Intrepid for possibly 1 or 2 more years of development time, and now also with the added cost of self-publishing in EU? That is a very personal question to the company. That is
I hope they
I'm gonna have to say yes. I'm sure they planned for, like, you can kind of see costs as they come and like plan for things. They're still hiring people on, like they're still expanding. So I would have to say yes.
And there's like they've got those packages that you can purchase to get in early access to the game. I think that's gonna help them go a long way, because I've known plenty of people that go for those packages.
Man, it's like a $300-$400 like pack.
Yeah,
just to get an alpha key.
Think about like the game Star Citizen. Like that game's like completely crowdfunded based on that concept. Like you pay $60 and you get early access and a ship to fly. It's like people eat that up. If people are dedicated to the game, like they'll definitely.
Yeah. Well, the one thing though that I should mention is that Steven has specifically said if you're skeptical not to buy any of those, which I think is a great thing to actively promote. That because everyone's always skeptical about MMOs, I think it's great that the creator of this game is saying, like, don't give us money until you actually play the game.
Yeah,
which I think is nice, right? So I'm sure they have a plan. You can only imagine. Yeah, I'm sure. And plus, not to mention, I don't think it would be hard for them to get investors. I really don't. I know Steven said that he's funding it mostly all himself. I do not think it'll be hard for him to get investors, especially now where the game is at, where they have actual things that they can show and produce to the community, but also they have this massive hype train behind them where they are like the game right now. They're the MMO. So
Yeah. However, when you talk about investors, that makes me really worried because investors are usually the ones that are like,
that
oh,
ruin
let's
it.
put in pay to win and
Yeah,
microtransactions, and let's just totally bloat this game with garbage that
that's
nobody
fair.
wants. You're
That's fair.
triggering me when you're talking about these investors. Like, yeah, they
That's
probably
fair.
could.
That
Uh,
I guess Steven did mention that's why he didn't want. He wanted to do it all himself, so you don't have
yeah,
like investors to answer to.
yeah,
Um, but I think ultimately, as far as money comes, the game's going to be made. Whether
yeah,
it's going to be as good as we want or not, that's to be seen. But I don't think they'll have money issues.
yeah. I hope they don't have the problem where they have to release an unfinished product
Yes.
and
Um.
people are disappointed and they leave
Yeah.
because that happened with Warhammer Online.
Ooh.
That game was really cool. I really liked it, but it when they released it unfinished, it left a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths, and a lot of people just abandoned it, despite it actually being like a pretty cool game in my opinion.
Yeah. I know they have addressed. See, that's one thing. It seems like every problem that they've mentioned, from what I've seen, they have an answer to it, which I love. And it's not just a generic. We're working on it. Like they'll give tangible steps to how they're fixing it. They
Mhm.
have talked about keeping everything within scope of what they can do now, because you could build a game infinitely. You keep adding, especially a game like this that's so massive. You add one feature, another feature, another feature, another feature. The game never gets released, right?
Yeah.
They have 100. I forget what the exact word for it is. It's like content lag or something like that. Where it just keeps dragging out and dragging out. Like you want to add this cool feature, you want to add that, and the game never gets released. They definitely have that in mind of keeping everything well within scope and just creating what they have now, and then eventually adding expansions of some sort and updates.
Okay, cool.
Which I actually, I don't know if the question's in here, but you might find this interesting. They're not doing your typical expansions. Because they're not doing a box cost of this game up front. They're just doing subscription right now, and
Right.
that's how they will continue to do. They haven't 100% said this, but that's how they're going to continue to essentially do expansions, which are just massive updates. You just
Yeah.
keep paying your subscription. You don't have
That
to
sounds
like, yeah, right. Like they've talked about it. They said the subscription is more than enough to fund everything that they need, and especially without investors having to split up all your money and steal it,
mhm.
and other parties involved. I think it's great. I think it could work really well.
They're gonna have like cosmetic microtransactions if I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
definitely.
So like, that'll be like people love that.
Nothing pay
So
to win. They've emphasized that heavily, so I'm okay with that.
I hope they aren't depending on that. Well, maybe they are. Like I wonder if that's part of
I think
their
it's a
plan.
I think it's probably a big portion, but he has stated, I don't know how true it is, that a subscription itself is more than enough to fund the game.
Okay, cool. Good
And
for
then
them.
of course you want extra money to do extra things. You don't want to just
Yeah,
be making it by, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
I'm not worried about that. It's one of those things too where you never know until it happens. Like
Mhm.
you just can't predict this kind of thing. So in my mind, I just have to assume it's gonna work. That they're
Yeah,
not gonna have money issues. That they can afford to continue developing the game and updating it with the current plan they have in place.
for sure.
Will weather affect? Will weather effects at sea have an impact ships? What? Have an impact
On
on
ship.
ships, such as wind, rough sea, and ice? I don't know.
I doubt it.
Uh,
That's pretty ambitious if they did,
so
because
they have seasons and weather. They do have that, where the seasons will affect your skills.
oh really?
Yeah, so they have it on 1 week timers right now, where every week it transitions through to like summer, winter, fall, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And so
Bomb me, holy.
yeah, every
That's
week it will rotate, and then the weather will change with that.
mhm.
Currently it's set at a week, but a lot of people are hoping 2 weeks to a month, which
Yeah.
sounds a little more appropriate to me.
I think 1 month cycles sounds good, but maybe that's
But if it's affecting your skills, then maybe not. So I would say maybe 2 weeks is just, it feels like an actual season, but at the same time, it's not completely shutting you down for too long.
okay. If there's a system like that in place, then
Yeah,
I could see them applying that to the ships.
the
Like
ships, yeah,
it isn't like one day it's like, oh, you have 90-mile-per-hour winds. It's more like it's springtime, so maybe I don't know what weather is like in spring. It's probably pretty mild, but
I could
in
see
winter,
currents maybe.
Yeah.
There could be some sort of current system. I think that could be easily put in place, where if you enter into certain areas, it starts pulling you along. Because a lot of games like MMOs already have that, where you're in a river and it just slowly pulls you down the river.
That'd be interesting because that could have an impact on like your trade routes for the
Yeah,
week. Like,
that would be awesome.
I don't want to like, I don't want to like say that they are going to do this or wish that they would do this because that
Hmm.
is, I'd rather they get other things right first. But if
It's
they
not the
did,
most important thing.
that'd be cool, and I
Yeah,
support that
yeah,
because I think you do want the game to be kind of changing on a weekly basis so that it isn't like the same trade routes every week. It isn't
yeah,
the same castles you're fighting every week.
yeah.
And so I think the node system they already kind of
Address a
are
lot of the yeah.
what I'm saying. But if
It's not too static, right? It's always like the kind of a changing world and weather and atmosphere, like because boat building and everything will be a big aspect. It definitely will be. So I could see them potentially adding systems like this,
yeah,
right? It kind of makes sense for what they do, how they always want that dynamic, changing, never the same world. It seems something kind of easy to add in. In my mind, you can add in different like potentially like procedurally generated currents. I don't think that
mhm.
would be insane. Um, as far as wind and stuff, yeah, that could be easy, right? Like some days, depending where you are too on the sea, maybe it's like you're moving faster or slower. I can see that.
That'd be cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
I
think it's
won't hold.
necessary, like you said, but
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I haven't heard anything either about it, so who knows? So this man, Jahlon, is like this man is the grandmaster of Ashes of Creation right now.
Oh
He
really?
has a YouTube channel. This man goes on 7-hour Q&As. He knows everything. He knows Steven pretty well himself.
Okay, cool.
And he's had him on like his own Q&As and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, this man knows like everything. So if he has a question, I want to know it
Yeah.
because I won't
So
be
is
able
he?
to answer it.
So what is he saying?
What appearance do freeholds take on? Are they like in node houses and it changes with the racial architecture of the node? Do they take on the racial appearance of the owner, or does the owner get to choose? Huh. Do you know anything about the in node houses that you talked about?
Um, not really.
So the way it works is that you have a node, and the majority race that ends up progressing the node, contributing to it leveling up, it will take on the aesthetic of that race.
Okay, that's
So
cool.
if
Alright.
a majority of orcs are giving to this one node, then it'll be an orc village or city,
Mhm.
right? So and in you have in node housing, so that kind of goes hand in hand. You would have kind of an orc flavored house in your node.
Mhm.
But this is because freeholds, if I'm correct, which I'm pretty sure there's something like this, they are your own housing that is not in a node, but in the actual open world. Um,
Oh,
so
yeah.
in node housing can be destroyed as a node gets destroyed.
Yeah.
But the freeholds, they are static and you kind of level them up. You can have a restaurant, you can have a tavern, those kind of things. You can make a business. There's many things you can do with them.
Mhm.
And I think he's just asking if you can choose the actual appearance of that, similar to how they do in the nodes, like a dwarven tavern or an elven tavern type thing.
So like in my opinion, like I like the choice because it'd be
Mm-hmm.
cool if you're like an orcish city, but you have like a dwarven inn, and
Yeah,
it's kind of like represents like the intermingling of cultures. I think that'd be really cool. I think it'd be cool aesthetic.
yeah.
If for some reason game engine wise that's like too unwieldy, then it's fine if it doesn't
So
work out like that. I'm all
my
for choice.
my pessimistic view is that it will likely be race locked to whatever you are as you're creating it. I don't remember all the races right now, but for example, if you're a human and you create a tavern, it will be a human tavern.
Okay, yeah,
That's my pessimistic view. I don't think you'll have the choice. That's my prediction, and it will
that
be
makes
locked to whatever you are.
yeah. So like I think that's fine if it's like that. I was just saying, like, okay, say that you're a human in an orcish city. If you make your
Yeah.
inn, it'd be cool if you didn't make an orcish inn. It'd be
So
cool if
you
you made
can't actually make your freeholds in any of the cities or in
okay,
any of the nodes. It has to be out. There's certain areas where it's outside of their like influence, kind of.
okay,
So you can like have it in a forest potentially, like a tavern in a forest, or like because not to go too in depth with it, but you have proximity nodes to those potential businesses. So say
Okay.
you're an inn and you get a food buff from being in a certain area, a certain range of this tavern.
Okay.
So you can like do more damage or something.
Okay. Yeah, I understand the question a lot better now.
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying, does it take on the racial architecture of the node, the racial appearance of the owner, or does the owner get to choose? So I'm in the same boat as you. It's probably going to be the racial appearance of the
Yeah,
owner. It'd be
that
cool
or
if
sorry, continue.
say I'm not sure how much this game has for this type of thing,
A lot.
where say that you're a human, but you can learn dwarven
Mm-hmm.
type stuff if you want. I'm not sure if that's something like can you learn languages in this game or
There are religions. There is like thief guilds and this and that. I wouldn't be
okay?
surprised, but I don't know.
Because I know in like some games, um, you start off as like say human, and you start off with your default languages,
Mm-hmm.
but you can like learn the languages of other races. This was
That'd be
oh
cool.
yeah, I'm thinking of Star Wars Galaxies actually, where you had to learn how to understand the Wookiee language by
Hmm.
just constantly talking with another player, and that's how you learn their language. So it'd be cool if so just I got a little bit off track. It'd be cool if like there were systems where you can learn how to do certain different types of architecture, like even if you're a different race.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't
yeah,
know how thrilling it would be, but I never played the Star Wars, or I never
yeah,
played Star Wars enough to know.
yeah. So it's just like this even extends to like crafting. Like I don't know if is there like dwarven armor sets and human armor sets, or
Definitely.
so it'd be cool if like as a crafter you initially start making human armor, but then you can learn the dwarven aesthetic and apply it to
Mm,
your crafting
that'd be
there.
cool.
It would
I'd
be
like
cool.
that. Have you have your like human recipe, your dwarven recipe, and you
Yeah.
kind of work towards that.
So by default you learn the human stuff, but maybe there's something you can go above and beyond to do to learn the other races as
Yeah,
well, and maybe that can apply to the architecture
that would be
as well.
awesome actually. If you level up your knowledge of another culture, another race, and
Yeah.
then you can ultimately build your tavern to look more like that race. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
You're a
I
smart
think that'd
guy.
be cool. Wow. That's a
Amazing.
stretch. All right.
Okay, Lawless says, is there going to be server-wide announcements for the first kill of dungeons, world, and potential hidden bosses on launch day, as well as dungeon time records in general, perhaps the party member usernames shown in the announcements?
Yeah, somebody really wants to
Um,
clout chase.
yeah, so I'm gonna ignore a lot of that because I don't think it's important. I'll be honest with you. The server-wide announcements, a leaderboard, however, I think would be cool. Like a persistent leaderboard where you can see who has the fastest times on certain dungeons. I think that would be
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah,
I don't
I
see why
think so
not.
too.
Maybe you go to
I think
some board in town in like the nearest node or uh metropolis, the nearest metropolis node, and there's some kind of board where you can look up the top teams or something.
yeah, I think it's really important to have competition in the game, and that's something that people really like.
Definitely.
Uh, think about Destiny 2 raids. Like whenever a new raid comes out, it's like an entire event where like even the developers of the game are like watching these streamers compete to see
Yeah.
who's the first team to complete the raid. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think people really like that
Yeah.
attention, the clout from that.
Which,
So
in a sense, that's a server-wide announcement. But at the same time, when I think of server-wide announcement, it shows up in everyone's chat box, like, "Hey, this person just downed this person." I don't know if that's necessary as much as just having like a leaderboard.
yeah, I don't need it in game. It's cool if
Mm-hmm.
it is. It doesn't bother
Yep.
me that much. It's kind of like in RuneScape how like every time somebody gets a level 99 skill, it's like, oh, somebody got level 99. It's like, cool, good for them. I, just,
Yeah.
I don't really care that much, but
Yeah.
for the more
I remember that.
significant, I'd be sure, yeah.
Well, yeah,
If
like in World of Warcraft, you're in a
cool to know.
guild and you level up, and it's like, and everyone just in the guild chat always types like "grats" when you level up
Yeah,
because they can see that, and it's like, I don't need it, but sure, I guess.
yeah,
Even just in between guilds, though, I think that would be cool if you downed a boss. and it gives a guild-wide announcement. You guys just down this. You guys did something good in a dungeon or whatever it is. I think that'd be cool. I don't think it's necessary to be server-wide.
Yeah.
Next one is, these questions, honestly, so far are pretty great. I'll be
Yeah, I
honest
actually
with
really
you.
like them. They're
Yeah,
really good.
they're not even like filtered. I think it's just like newest to last, or
Yeah.
oldest to
Or
newest.
this, yeah.
So when a corrupted player gets killed, can they drop gear from their inventory or only what they have equipped?
So
So,
explain what
uh,
a corrupted player is.
right. I'll do my best because it can be kind of complicated. So,
Yeah.
can I think for a second?
Yes, you can.
Dr. K. uh, so a corrupted player is someone that has engaged in unconsensual PvP. By that I mean, if you're in a forest, you're killing boars, someone comes along, kills you, and you don't fight back, they become corrupted. If you
Okay.
fight back, that is considered consensual PvP, in which you're both just flagged and you don't become corrupted from that. But if you're just griefing lower level people, they don't fight back, you're just killing them all off, you'll get corrupted. And as you get more corrupted, there's a higher chance that you can drop finished, like completed gear that you are wearing.
Okay.
Like just drop it on the ground if you're killed.
Yeah.
So it's a risk versus reward. They're very heavy on that principle. So that's a corrupted player. A corrupted player is someone that is essentially, it doesn't even have to be killing or griefing. It's just, that's just what they just killed other people, right? They're doing open world PvP against people that probably didn't want to do it, but you get corrupted. So it's a risk versus reward, right?
That sounds good.
And so they can drop finished gear. Like if you're, because there's a bounty hunter system, which I could go off on that too. It's basically, if you're corrupted, these bounty hunters that only certain people can be, you are on their map and they can see your exact location on the map because they are bounty hunting you. But basically, if you're killed as a corrupted player, you have, depending on how corrupt you are, you have a chance at dropping completed gear, which could be your sword. So you get killed, your completed sword is just gone.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's a cool system. I don't know actually if it's equipped or in your inventory. I would imagine only equipped, because that would be that I basically all you would do is deposit all your inventory constantly in another chest or at your home at your freehold. You just deposit all of your inventory and then just go and kill people. So it's probably just whatever's equipped.
I think anything that's in their inventory should be fair game if it was up to me.
I agree.
Just like say that you don't consent to PvP,
yeah,
and you get killed by a corrupted player. I think at least like the resources that you were gathering should be dropped. Like, don't sacrifice equipment, but as long as resources.
That is one of actually the rewards for killing like open world PvP. If you kill somebody else and you're like, even if you guys are like PvPing each other, you don't become corrupted. You can, even if you're just minding your own business, you can drop resources as the person getting killed. But as far as like equipment, I don't know if you can drop that. I don't think you can from your inventory, but resources 100%.
Okay, because I could see like exploits where people, if they know that they're gonna die, they just unequip all their stuff and just kill themselves. So like I feel like there's got to be something to prevent that.
Well, maybe you can't swap out. You can't unequipped equipment once you're corrupted. Potentially, I don't know. I'm sure there's problems that come with that, but
I think there is. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one. Because like I said, if you can drop completed equipment from your inventory, you would just drop it all off somewhere else at your freehold or at your in node housing before you go out and just start killing people.
Yeah.
Right.
I think anything that a corrupted player is carrying in their inventory or equipped should be fair game. I think any that should potentially be able to be dropped. So, in my opinion,
I would say yes, but then think about this. Wouldn't you just carry a bunch of trash gear in your inventory as a higher percent chance that will drop instead of your actual equipped gear?
Yeah, that thought did come to my mind. Like, that is something that I would probably do.
Yeah, who wouldn't, right?
So, there's got to be some kind of
resources. I 100% think you should be able to drop them.
Yeah.
But then as far as equipment in your inventory is like, I don't know if it's necessary.
I guess we'll see. Yeah.
But equipped gear for sure. I mean, of course, right? And
there could be like a formula where it prioritizes their higher value items. Like
maybe,
if the formula notices that there's just junk in the person's inventory, it might disregard it for
maybe,
the calculation. But who knows? It's depends on
yeah.
what kind of feel you're
So
going for.
my prediction is no. You cannot drop gear from your inventory. That's my prediction, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. But dropping resources from your inventory,
Yeah,
like
100%. Definitely. That makes sense, right? Because also think about it, if you're killing other players and you're collecting their resources that they drop after you killed them, there should be a chance that they can come kill you back and get them back.
Yeah,
those resources, right?
Yeah.
So, good evening from Munich, Intrepid. Most people I talk to are worried about the combat of Ashes. As someone not knowing the insights of game development, why did combat take a backseat after the apocalypse testing? Interesting. I don't think it did. I think there's a proper order to development that I just think so in my mind, I don't know developing, right? But in my mind there's a proper order to things where you can't really have a fully fleshed out combat and feel of a game until you actually start having alphas and betas. Until you start getting those mass amount of players in and their actual input. I feel like the core systems are more important than combat until like you need the core of the game to be solid, the foundation of it, before you can start polishing off combat.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right? Otherwise, it's just a combat simulator. Like you know, it's just a combat game, but it's not a true MMO. It's not a true immersive experience. It's not the whole package.
Like when I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons, like the combat isn't really all that like fabulous, right?
Yeah.
Only as fabulous as your players and Dungeon Master can describe.
Yeah.
But I think what makes the game fun is like the role playing aspects of it. So,
yeah, it's the whole game because really, and like I said, I don't think even let's say they did polish off this combat as well as they could with their internal team. You do not know what will realistically happen or what bugs or glitches will happen until you give it to a few thousand people, till you give it to like 10,000 people. You know what I mean? Like you just don't know until you open it for alpha and betas.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I hope like their baseline for how they're going to approach combat is good because I think you need good roots at the very least. But yeah, anything after that is just polish.
I think they said they're balancing classes. It's not the exact same as combat, but as far as balancing classes, they said they were balancing it around 8 party teams.
Okay.
Because I believe there's 4, 8, and 16 parties and 40 man raids. I could be wrong. It could just be like 8, 16, 40 man raids. But it's something like, I think that might be it actually. 8, 16, and 40.
Yep, that sounds good.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily taken a backseat, and especially they said after the apocalypse testing. Just as a quick side note, like they found major core issues in the coding after the apocalypse testing. That showed them how they had to rewrite a bunch of their game, which was kind of the purpose of it. So
yeah,
I don't know. Makes sense to me so far.
Yeah.
Let's see. Typhon says, can you clarify if not using your archetype's preferred weapon will reduce / limit the weapon skills you can use? For example, if I use a mace plus shield as a tank, would I be unable to use the combo skill since I am not using the archetype's preferred weapon?
So,
I don't get it.
Archetypes have weapons?
I don't think so. Not as far as I know.
Like, I wonder if he's just imposing what he thinks should be the preferred
Well, you would
weapon.
think a shield for a tank, but
yeah,
there's nothing that says it has to be that way.
Yeah, interesting. Because like, when you think about like hunter abilities, like there could be like a hunter ability called like arcane shot. You'd think like, okay, you need a bow or a crossbow or something to use that ability. So maybe he's thinking like, oh, like, are you losing some skills because you're not using the correct weapon to use those skills?
Possibly.
But maybe. But
it could also be the Guild Wars route, where whatever weapon you equipped has different skills for that weapon.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do if I was developing this game. a good way to go about
Like
it.
maybe you can have your class skills and then you have your weapon skills on top of it, and you can mess around with the skills in your action bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We just don't know enough about that really to give you an answer,
Yeah,
I suppose.
I haven't got a sense of like how deep they're going into
Hmm.
how many skills per class are they actually
Yeah,
gonna have. I
yeah.
have no idea.
I do know that they so you can have your primary archetype, your secondary archetype, which will augment and mold your skill, and you can
Mhm.
further spec those skills into to specify them even more. You can basically level them up and under different paths.
Okay.
So I don't have an example of what they've said, but my own example would be, say you do have that you're a fighter mage, so then you have your charge that becomes a blink, and then that blink you can upgrade. Actually, this is an example. Awesome, my brain is working today. So then they said you can upgrade that blink to essentially be a directional blink. So depending on where you're typing on, like with the WASD, whatever way you're directed in that is where you will blink. So
Okay.
Steven has shown in a video too where he's looking forward, he hits S, so he starts backpedaling and it blinks him backwards.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you can upgrade skills like that.
Yeah, right on.
Um,
Rookie backpedaling though. What the hell?
well, you kind of have to just to get the blink
Oh,
backwards, but that's still, I think that's a cool option.
yeah. Cool.
But as far as this goes, I don't know if anything will necessarily limit you. I can almost guarantee they would say nothing will limit you in this except your imagination. I can almost guarantee you. Because that's kind of
No.
how it's built. That's how it's built though, right? They want you to do whatever you want. They want you to play how you want to play. So,
Yeah.
um Orange Juice says, "Thank y'all so much for doing this Q&A. How do you plan on supporting the longevity of AOC? It seems like most MMOs tend to die within 3 to 5 years." Dude, it's all in the players. It's not up to them. Make a good game.
Yeah, make a good game. What other games do is like, I think every developer has to expect like there's going to be a huge influx of players at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not going to be actually like that's not actually going to be what it's like
Yeah.
for the long
It could
term.
pick up after 2 years. Who really knows?
Yeah.
It's most MMOs that die in 3 to 5 years, that's because they're bad. Let's be
Hmm.
honest. That's because they're good. They have good polish, but they have no soul. They have no core to it. They don't have that thing that keeps pulling you back for 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
Realistically,
I think there's enough. I think MMOs have been around long enough, and there's enough case studies that I'd be surprised if AOC didn't have a plan for the long term and how to keep the game sustainable. Like, no matter what direction it goes, like if it flops and there's only like 1,000 players that
mm-hmm.
keep playing, then like they probably have a plan for that, and they probably have a plan for if there's
Yeah.
like a billion. It just I think it's something that you have to play it by ear a little bit, but a lot of it. There's enough experience with other MMOs in the industry that you can kind of draw experience from those
Yeah.
and make a plan. So
They have many veterans on their team too.
yeah,
Many veterans.
yeah, that's good.
So
So
and like as far as supporting longevity of AOC, it's any game. You give updates and patches and graphic improvements. That's all you really can do. You can add expansions and add content, right? Just pretty normal
yeah,
stuff. So as long as the
yeah,
game's
like
good though at the core, I think it'll last a long time.
and if things don't go their way, there's always the cop out of going free to play and
Yeah,
giving limited free to play, right? Like, I
you
mean,
could do a
I
box
always
price to the game.
yeah, I think they should always just do that right off the bat. I don't know why they wait so long to add free to play. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, the subscription fees can be
Um.
kind of a
Well,
gatekeeper.
a lot of it is the gatekeeping from like farmers and like bots, where you need to
Okay.
actively be playing it. But
Yeah.
at the same time, they're not giving you a box cost. Like Guild Wars, it's kind of the opposite, right? It's free to play. Well, you just buy the game and then there's no subscription.
Yeah.
This is kind of the opposite, where this actually gives you more money long term to sustain and develop the game. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Me too.
And realistically, if we're being honest, the box cost of the game is nothing compared to what people will pay on the microtransactions. They will end up paying much more than the box cost. So I think they're fine.
Yeah. Like, if I really love the game, I'll probably throw like $50 at it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's
Yeah,
like at the box
exactly.
cost of the game. So
yeah, and you don't feel like you're scumming people out of money by being, I already bought the game at the box cost. I'm already paying a subscription, and now I have to pay extra for this cool looking sword. Right? This is just, I'm playing to play the game as a relatively an affordable subscription, and then yeah, you throw some extra money at it where it counts, or where you feel like you want it. So my cat really wants to say hello, but sorry, bro. So
wow, great question. Well,
these
the
questions.
skin.
What's that?
I'll read the next one.
Okay,
I
yeah.
got you. So Gunman Dude 2. Wow, what a great name.
Where's number one? Am I right?
Yeah, where's number one? Will the skin of a player's mount affect their hitbox in PvP?
There's no way. There's absolutely no way.
I don't know enough about the game to answer that. It'd be interesting if it did, but I doubt it will.
I have to say no because I would hate it. I would absolutely hate it.
Like, even if it did, I don't think it would be enough to even matter.
Oh.
Like,
so I should say with skin, I kind of mean like, I kind of think of like, you have this one mount and then you can add something to it, or I don't know, I guess because I just feel like there's one type of mount that everyone can get, just like whether you can make them faster, run this or that. I feel like the model of the mount is the same, just with different skins over top. So I don't see how that would change the hitbox. You're not having a completely different type of mount.
it probably won't. Like, when I think of adding a skin, I'm thinking like at most you're adding like, I don't know, like how much bigger could the skin be than the standard mount?
Yeah, and you're not making it from like a horse to an elephant, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm going with that line of thinking. Like,
it's the same core.
Yeah.
So I'd have to say no, just because I would hate it, and it doesn't seem like that's what it would be.
I feel like it would save on information processing by not doing that. If everything just has like a standard hitbox.
You're a smart man. You reminded me. So I can almost definitely say it will not affect the hitbox because they do have default models. To account for the mass battles that are to come, like 500 people on a screen at once, they do have it where their systems will automatically show just a default character model off in the distance if they're not important to render it. So it's almost definitely the same with a mount, because you're not going to render every single small detail of a mount. You need a default model to render. So
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, just until the day that we all have like quantum computing, there is definitely going to be those limitations. So
yeah, it would be cool though, I guess, if you could have like a siege mount. That's always a possibility, I suppose, where like it can carry 10 people or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but then that's a different model than your
exactly.
Your mount, so.
Yeah, so I don't think a skin itself would change the mount.
I don't think so.
There may be different types of mounts, right? Like there's a single person mount, maybe a 10-person mount. I don't know. As far as I know, they're just kind of single person. But yeah.
Yeah, cool.
This next person asks,
yes.
What do you have to say about that one?
Well, I think he really says what's on all of our minds. Like, what the actual hell is going on?
One sec.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, you're just yelling at a mask? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I 100% concur.
Absolutely.
That's a good question. Honestly, I thought these questions would be complete trash. Some of them are like, but then like they're pretty much all good. There's no like really bad questions yet, I would say.
Yeah. Even just this guy here just saying, I really like.
Well, he's still thinking. We'll give him some time.
Making me think. Like,
he'll type it up quick.
Okay.
So this next one, you want to take this one?
Wow. First of all, a great profile picture.
Oh, I didn't even notice it was Darth Maul.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's Darth Maul with a cowboy hat, man.
That's incredible. I love that. I'm so glad I'm here to see that. So Tyra Kel, what a great name too. Will narrative quests feature persistent NPCs that are not dependent on the node system? In other words, will our immersion in the story be driven more by character stories or raw world building?
I don't get it. I'm confused.
Think about that. like, is he hoping for like
So
procedurally generated PCs?
I think he kind of means, yeah. Well, so if there's like an, um, I'm gonna have, so if it's the way I understand, I'm gonna say no. So by having NPCs that are not, because the way nodes work, as they get leveled up, you get access to new NPCs, new blacksmiths or new features, right?
Yeah.
Basically everywhere is being controlled by some kind of node. It is under what, like, big or small, it's under the influence of some sort of node, from my understanding. um and it seems like they kind of are talking about having an overarching story that is irrelevant to the node progression, right? You have this story, you go to this quest giver that has nothing to do with the node, because this person will never change as the nodes are changing. And I'm gonna have to say no, because that just seems kind of going backwards from Ashes of Creation's whole philosophy of an ever-changing game, a living world type thing. I feel like as certain nodes get leveled up, you will get access to certain quests and certain story quests that unlock like a cave or in this mountain, or because they did say world bosses are, certain ones are locked behind certain nodes being leveled up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a metropolis in a certain node, it will unlock a certain world boss that maybe wants to destroy the node or something like that.
Okay.
So if I understand that correctly, I would have to say there will not be any persistent NPCs, but I have no idea.
Well, maybe like the persistent NPCs will be the ones where like if the node hasn't been leveled up at all.
Yeah.
Right. Those ones are probably at most persistent. Like there's got to be, I think there has to be at least a few persistent NPCs. I think, unless maybe there isn't. I don't know. Maybe NPCs only appear once you actually start.
So what I'm thinking too is if you have a story narrative quest, then sure, maybe there is a persistent NPC, we could say, from like a non-leveled up node. It's just at its bare minimum, right? There's nothing there. But you would still need to level up that node for this NPC to have a shop and then improve his shop, or to have a castle. Then once you upgrade it more to progress this story quest, I think you would need to progress that node.
Yeah.
Or you'd have to go to another node that is already leveled up that can do what you're looking for. That's kind of how I see it. I just, it almost seems too separated from the entire game if you have this story that, or this whole like narrative quest that has absolutely nothing to do with the nodes.
Yeah.
Because it couldn't if it's just persistent. So I don't know. I feel like it has some, I feel like nodes, which is how this whole game is built around, nodes unlock new features. So yeah. Can we expect information on archetype augments and racial augments before Alpha 1?
I hope so.
I'm sure we'll get something, right? I'm sure we'll get something. I don't know if it's as much as you would want, but probably something. Yeah. Epop. When is the next interview with Steven and Jahlon? The last one was amazing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, what do you think? Well, I don't know. I'm just reading it. He says it was amazing. I thought it was pretty good.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, they get some answers out there. Like, I feel like all the questions that can be kind of answered have been that they're willing to answer, so, or that they can answer. It's not that they're not willing to, but just like some systems just aren't fully fleshed out yet. So
I like the next question.
Go for it.
So, do you have any plans on making a Berserker class, kind of like a D&D barbarian? If not, will there at least be rage-based abilities? So you and I were talking about like the Dreadnought class.
Dreadnought. I wouldn't be surprised if that was similar.
It's probably going to be, if you want to play a Berserker type, it's probably in the fighter primary type.
Fighter tank combo of a Dreadnought?
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be what you want to do.
Oh, okay. Another one about Jahlon. I told you, this man is a god of the community. He is all-knowing and all-seeing.
Yeah, I think I looked him up and I just subscribed because I intend on watching
Dude,
stuff
he
later.
has 7-hour Q&As though. I cannot. He has like, he's starting to do one where he like condenses it to like an hour or something. I can do that. I can't do 7 hours. That's wild. This man knows too much.
we've like started. We've been doing this for how long? Like 30 minutes now, and it's like, man,
I've been
right.
recording for an hour,
Oh wow,
but I don't
yeah.
know how
Well,
long
there's
we've actually been doing this for.
a lot of junk in there too. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay, let's just do this last question because they have two. Because we could literally just keep going and going, and honestly, they've all been pretty decent so far. I have two questions, but feel free to pick one. We're gonna pick both. Let's skip that. So, say you want to change, or actually, we're gonna jump to my question because I did leave one eventually. We're gonna jump to that one after this.
okay.
Because I like my question. And yeah, this one started off kind of weird. Do you want to change to crafting from gathering, but you're master in gathering? You're a master in gathering. I don't get it honestly. They're jumping back and forth.
Okay.
We're gonna
I
skip
think I
that.
get.
Do you?
So I think like they have mastered a class, like a crafting profession,
Okay.
and they want to change from that. And so they're saying, will you be able to downgrade
You have to
that
completely forget it.
to below master so you can ascend master into something else?
If that's how I'm taking it, in order to fully master, because you only see they have different levels though. They have gathering, they have refining, and they have crafting. I think they have like
Okay.
3 categories of the whole crafting. Something like that.
Sure.
Those might not be the exact names, but from what I understand, you can only have one craft, like actual crafting profession. Say if you're a swordsmith as opposed to just a miner. I think you can mine and swordsmith, but you can only have like just swordsmith. You can't also be a jewel crafter or something like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if that's how it is, then if you're trying to go from a weaponsmith to a jewel crafter, or I don't know, like a leather worker, you have to completely forget your main profession.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But then like I said, there's like 3 different categories of the whole system, so I don't know how they intertwine with each other.
I'm not sure if we answered that person's question. I wonder if they know something about how those systems work that we don't, because they're talking about like downgrading to below master so that they can master something else. Like, so can you know multiple forms of crafting but only master one? Is that what's going on? That's cool if that's the case.
From
That's
what
like I
I
wonder if you can.
understand, you can only master one, and you don't get to have like any remnants of the last one if you
Okay.
want to switch.
Hmm.
The best thing I can think of is if you're like an engineer in World of Warcraft and you
Mhm.
want to switch to an alchemist, you have to completely forget engineer to become an
Okay.
alchemist.
Yeah, I can imagine that's probably how it is. But just the way that they worded that, it makes me
It's
think like there's more to it than maybe you and I know, or
maybe,
maybe
yeah,
I don't know.
they could know a lot more about the system. It's just from my interpretation, you can only have one true mastery of an actual crafting. I wish I had. I should probably pull it up, but eh.
Yeah. Something to look up later. That's an
Yeah.
interesting question.
Okay, so I'm gonna look for mine really quick. Bam.
Oh,
Okay.
there you
Amazing.
go. Okay.
So, hi. Can't wait for the game. Okay. Stylized graphics seem to keep video games feeling much younger for much longer than realistic graphics. They can also be a huge pull for new players. Are there any concerns / plans for keeping the game feeling and looking modern even 10 to 15 years down the road? Thanks. Greetings from Canada, eh? Yeah, so obviously 10 to 15 years is quite a reach, but
Mhm.
it's also an exaggeration for a reason. Do you just have long-term plans for updating the game? It's really as simple as that as far as aesthetics go, because it's not an easy task to have this massive world and just go and reskin everything. It's not, right? And when you have games like Mario, no one criticized Mario from the 80s because of the way it looks. That's because that's the way it's supposed to look, right?
Yeah.
But if you go and look at Call of Duty from 2003, you're gonna be like, this game looks terrible compared to realistic graphics of Call of Duty now.
Yeah.
It's just the more stylized, cartoonish graphics like World of Warcraft. They just last longer, right? Like World of Warcraft, no one goes into World of Warcraft being like, man, these graphics, these ain't it. You know, they're not a large point of contention. Obviously, they modernize it as they go, but you can only do so much. You can increase resolution and pixel density, that kind of thing. I don't know if that makes sense, even what I just said, but I think you get the point. I think I'm just
Yep.
making things up at this point. But yeah, like if you have a realistic game, it's just much harder to keep it looking realistic as more updated technology comes along.
Yeah.
Right. I think a lot of people have brought up that issue. Um, I really like to think that because they're using DirectX 11, I believe. Um, or that could be completely wrong. They are using Unreal Engine 4 at the moment. And
Mhm.
Unreal Engine 5 is coming out next year, I believe, in which from what I remember, they are going to try to integrate aspects of Unreal Engine 5 in it, which would obviously be great because it's a brand new engine.
Yeah.
But that's honestly a big concern of mine. You, like I said, when I logged into World of Warcraft, you feel that for the first time, right? You feel that childlike whimsy and wonder. You're immersed into this magical, beautiful world. I don't want to log into a game for the first time and be like, this looks like a game from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? You want
Sure.
to be pulled in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's like it's a huge undertaking to update graphics. Like RuneScape's done it several times now,
yeah.
and I can only imagine how much that costs them. World of Warcraft, like they don't like up what's they've updated like character models
Mm-hmm.
recently, and but if you go to like some of the older content, like Wrath of the Lich King and stuff, it's still like isn't like they've updated anything there.
Yeah.
They can kind of count the
But they
pixels.
also they don't need to. It's passable enough to be like, this is just how it looks, right? It's not
Yeah,
trying to look like anything in particular. It's just whatever they made is how they wanted it to look, and that's just what it is. It's not like it's trying to emulate real life. So I am concerned about that, of how the graphics look right now. They look almost too realistic, too gritty, where I know for a fact it puts a lot of people off from the games. A lot of people don't like that look or that feel.
yeah. I think it's fine for now, but it might
For
irk
now,
me later.
it's
Yeah,
hard to really say because it's pre-alpha too, right? Like you can't really put harsh, like true criticisms on it until it's in maybe a beta 2 or like a beta 1 stage, really. Beta
yeah,
is when you're not going to change it much. You might put some polish, but the graphics are pretty much set in stone.
yeah.
um but there is worry for that. I don't want it to look like an old game as soon as it comes out, or even a year down the road. You don't want it to look old or just feel young. You know what I mean by feeling like young, right? World of Warcraft just has that timeless feel to it, and hopefully Ashes does. I'm just kind of concerned about that right now. I just hope they have a plan for it. That's really it, right? I just want them to acknowledge that it's a potential to be an issue, or it has
Yeah.
potential to be an issue. So
I'm not super worried about it, but
yeah,
yeah, it could be something that irks me down the line.
I feel like it's one of those long-term things though that keep you pulled into the game. Also, if
Yeah,
it needs to have everything. When you're talking about an MMO like Ashes of Creation, it needs to have everything. It cannot be weak in PvP. It cannot be weak in PvP. It cannot be weak in lore. It cannot be weak in roleplay, right? It cannot
mhm.
be weak in aesthetic. It just can't be. This kind of
Yeah,
game needs to have it all.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Aesthetic is a huge thing. People like to look at pretty things while they blast their
Yeah.
foes. So
Well, you want to go off into a sunset, you want to take a screenshot and send it to your friends, right? You want to like show this awesome looking battle. You don't want it to look like two pixels fighting each other.
yeah,
Which
and like
obviously it's an exaggeration, but
honestly, who doesn't like dressing up their character and making them look like as
yeah,
cool as possible,
yeah,
right? Like, and it sucks if like it just doesn't look good 5 years down the road. Like your
yeah,
armor set it looks not up to date.
yeah, yeah,
Still like right?
yeah. It's just you almost don't want it to be compared. I just don't think it's good to be compared to realism as far as a video game goes. For something like this, because it's not meant to be realistic. It's a magical. It is meant to be medieval setting, but it's a magical medieval setting, right? There's nothing really realistic about that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, I hope they answer something along that lines, or just because although if they're in Unreal Engine 5, I'm sure they can quite easily improve graphical fidelity and this and that. for years to come and upgrade systems. But
Yeah, like even if they don't like update all the textures, like they can still add other things to spruce it up.
yeah,
And who knows, like maybe like technology will really come along, and who knows what AI can do in the future. But
oh,
you know that's maybe a little too futuristic. But
I'm not even
maybe
talking to a real person right now. You're literally just a deep fake of like
yeah.
all the pictures I've taken of you.
What is that website? This person isn't real.com. This
Oh
person doesn't.
man.
Have you seen that?
I saw it, yeah. I never actually went on it, but I saw the memes about it.
Okay, I'm gonna link it to you because it's interesting. This person does not exist.com, and it's like a AI generated image of a person, and this person like doesn't actually exist.
That's good.
And you can like refresh it, and it'll just make a new one. It's crazy, and that's essentially what I am. Tanner has mastered this technology, and
Amazing.
my voice and appearance
It's
are all
actually just a hacker. Someone is taking over you, and I don't even know it.
amazing.
An AI.
And
Scary future. Okay, well, I guess we'll wrap it up then. We don't need to talk about too much more. I mean, I'm getting kind of tired anyway.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we thank you guys for watching our potentially pointless video of us answering questions that we can't really answer and have no really authority to answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys like videos like this, let us know. If there's anything you want us to talk about or look into or make a video about, let us know.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Mglaisai!
Oh, don't do that.
Why not? It's part of my culture, bro. I watch anime. Actually, that's Chinese, but okay. Well, okay, bye. I'm stopping recording now. Love you.
Too.